Now, the rest of the story.
Let's see if I can't do this in 18% battery. So, beans are done, switched planter to corn. All I had to go through and do, the row cleaners had to be dropped or picked back up. The wheels had to be dropped back down. So I had it maxed out in the bottom setting here, which raised this wheel up in the back, and then it actually gave us full contact to the ground. For these, with the amount of residue that we had to move out of the way, that was actually really important. The big thing you have to watch out for on these reveal row cleaners is that when you raise it, your clearance really drops off. So the problem is in no-till, if there's matted material underneath that matted material, these wheels are exposing wet dirt. Wet dirt is essentially mud. So what happens is this rubber wheel starts to pick up any mud, and it brings it back around and it pinches it between the cast and the wheel. That is something to keep in mind for anybody that is looking at these things. I love them. I really do like them. The big selling point on them, other than the fact that they are mounted to the frame, so you're not transferring any of the movement on this unit to the actual seed unit, row unit, takes away some of the chatter out of the row there. Also, on worked soil, you know, behind the harrow or the VT or cultivator, whatever you're using, this wheel running ahead of the seed disc actually firms that soil up, so you're getting a nice, you know, not necessarily as nice as my hand, you know, a nice even firmed up level dirt that these seed discs and this gauge wheel can run on, or mainly the seed disc is cutting into. Really helps with your keeping your seed depth where you want it. Hydraulic downforce, ran it through the soybeans and everything. I can't hear much in the cab. Dad and Ryan says you can really hear these adjust because when they move. It's like it's instant as far as them, you know, adjusting as you're going across the field. And when you're going 5 to 6 miles an hour across the field, that's a lot of adjusting in a short amount of time. Went through. We don't plant beans as deep as corn, so on the soybeans we ran them shallower. Corn, beans are 1.5 inches deep. Corn is ideally 2 inches down, and you know, I got 2 of these in my pocket right now, but this is how you, one of the ways you can check your seed depth. You know, 2 inches is what you're aiming for. So when you open up the seed trench and you set that down the bottom of the trench next to the seed, ideally the soil, the top of the ground, is at 2 inches. On all these row units, I had to go through, this is a first for us, had to go through and take each and every one of these apart. We really didn't have much soybean seed in them. We really didn't. I think I had 3 5-gallon pails across 12 rows that I actually had to go through and remove out of these boxes. So really straightforward, really simple. I don't like doing this with one hand, so I'm gonna use my elbow. I might. Yeah, still there. On each of these units, you have to go through and take out the seed disc. And gosh, I know it's rough and rude and crude at this point. I'm not too bothered by it. So there is your corn cell, or your corn discs. What's this? Huh. I think we all knew that was already pretty much a Kinsey unit. But the seed meters themselves are Kinsey. And then all this down through here, I'm not sure what that name brand is on that. So, works great. It really does. But all you do is you drop this out and replace it with your bean disc or vice versa. And then when you're planting soybeans, I don't like doing that, you actually take out the eliminator here, your double eliminator. I left it in for beans because I did not know any better, but I'll be taking it out for corn. All of our brushes look good. Of course, I've done this all last night, so I know this all works well. Something that we really didn't discuss too much was actually your seed pool. It's actually numbered 1 through 5. I actually have it on setting 2. It's the amount of seed that it allows down in here as the disc is coming around and picking up a seed, bringing it around through your eliminator, and then back down into your row unit, and it drops it into this brush. So, initial opinions, other than what I've said while like driving in the tractor, is this setup is great. I had a learning curve with it. Didn't really, I knew it was expected. I mean, I wasn't gonna just jump in it and, you know, be a professional operator of this whole setup in the first, you know, 10 acres. But with a little bit of a learning curve, I mean, we had a lot to actually go over between the planter and the tractor, and also the guidance in the tractor. The guidance is what was giving me the issues the most here towards the end. But once we got all the bugs worked out of the planter, which there weren't many, a lot of it was just adjusting the vacuum pressure. That's something I never really had to do too much. We had that 6-row that was vacuum. I didn't really run it that much. I mean, Dad pretty much ran that, but even so, and maybe what I'm starting to see when I'm running this is, when the vacuum is set, for the most part, you really don't adjust it too much. Even with the soybean seeds, after I had it initially set after the first day, over the rest of the acres, I adjusted it twice, and it works great. Singulation, finger pickup versus vacuum, I would rather run vacuum. I mean, it's, yes, the learning curve and getting comfortable with it, huge. But being comfortable with how this machine operates, it's not very often, as in I've never heard of somebody that is set up like this that wants to go back to the way it was set up, you know, with the roller chains and the sprockets and all that extra moving parts. Yes, it's technology. Technology's a bitch. It really is. When it works, it's great. When it doesn't work, you want to pull your hair out. I mean, maybe that's what's happening here. I'm not sure. But no, I'm taking after my Grandpa Keen. I mean, honestly, all right, besides that, this planter is pretty well low maintenance. Gauge arms, I've done a few years ago. The next big thing that this planter is actually going to need, I'm going to be watching my seed disc gap to see that the seed discs are still within spec. I'm going to have to replace those probably year after next is what I'm guessing. Parallel arms, especially running hydraulic downforce. The bushings and everything, I expect these are probably going to be something I may have to be changing here in the next couple years. Just watching for wear and tear and any play that the arms may have, especially with the downforce, because when you're no-tilling, that hydraulic downforce will actually pick the planter up out of the ground if the ground is hard enough that the planter can't get all the rows into the ground. And the problem with that is all that weight, pressure is going somewhere, and it's going onto your parallel arms. So that's kind of a downside. I would rather have this set up than what it was last year. More peace of mind pulling it out of the shed because I hooked the monitor up. I run my checks in the monitor, tells me if all my row units are working. If they don't work, I literally can just swap it out. Kick the tires, grease it. I mean, I just greased it in like 5 minutes. And other than watching for wear items that aren't something you're going to be replacing every single year, this planter is already less headache than an older or a more basic setup planter. We already went through, we got soybeans that are already out of the ground, and it is already the best stand of soybeans we've ever had, just as far as emergence, because it's even. Even for soybeans, they might be round, but when these units are literally, when the soybeans are coming out, I think Ryan posted a video, Snapchat somewhere, the beans are actually being sent out straight out the back for how fast that's coming out. But we also have the seed firmer that helps catch it. People worry about the seed firmer actually rolling the soybeans in the trench. As long as your seed discs are not worn out, where they're actually making a true V in the ground, the beans will actually wedge into the bottom of the seed trench, into that V, and the seed firmer helps do exactly that, gets that seed firm down into the ground. We went ahead and put the 360-degree waves on, which I think are wicked awesome because they actually help break up sidewall compaction, especially in the last, you know, what was it, 110 acres that I planted. If you're worried about the seed trench closing, which was issues we've had in the past, that wave actually shears off the side of the sidewall and lays it over on top of your seed, so it keeps your seed from being exposed if it gets dry. And, you know, because when it dries out, dirt actually, you know, contract, and it'll actually open up your seed trench. So that wave was actually absolutely critical for some of the acres we go over. And then, of course, the Schleigels, the bigger handprint, footprint that you have, for going around corners, infinitely better than, I'd say, a standard closing wheel where it's a rubber wheel, or even the copper heads or anything like that. We ran them, didn't like them. The Schleigels, we ran them side by side with the Schleigels. For us, for what we're planting, these are infinitely better. We've gone through and we were gradually changing things on this planter. We went from the rubber closing wheels to these. That was a simple change. Saw better seed trench closing, which in turn meant better emergence because all of our seeds were being properly covered, so they're getting the seed to soil contact that you wanted. We went through the 360-degree waves. Once again, helped that much more and worked in conjunction with the Schleigels. Our seed was getting covered. Okay, so once we got that, then we were getting to our singulation with the electric drives and that belt that runs clear down here from the seed meter. You're getting the singulation. Yes, I'm gonna be doing another video on this, especially while I'm planting. I meant to do it more when I was doing beans, but you know what? I don't think anybody really wants to see any of the videos I had while I was planting beans. So with corn, probably better mood, I guess, mainly just because the learning curve. I just didn't want to have one more thing I was trying to focus on while I was talking, making a video doing beans. But I will say that going 6.4 miles an hour, because I hit the little dial thing on the 79, didn't really notice it right away, but going 6.4 miles an hour across the field, the planter was planting literally right where it needed to be as far as the seed population. Because when you're not worried about seed spacing or singulation with soybeans, it's the percent above or below your set population. So I was planting at anywhere from 120 to 160, but at that particular point in time I was planting at 110, and the fewer seeds that it's trying to push through it, the better job it was doing, because there was plenty of times where I was taking these seed boxes off, you know, to manage, or not manage, to check on stuff, and you are seeing 2 seeds on those belts. I mean, it is limited by how much you're trying to push through it, but the lower populations, as in once we run corn through this thing, when we're running corn through it, less seed, even going faster, it's going to be able to hopefully get a seed in each one of those belt paddles and just do a perfect job of getting our seed to the soil, getting our soil contact exactly how we want it, and getting our seed emergence where we want it. Because as you all know, the loyal viewers that are watching this year of the rest of the story, is I want that picket fence stand of corn. If I don't get it, it's not so much the planter's fault, it's probably something I did. I mean, that was pretty evident in the first few acres of beans that I planted. So I'm getting really confident with how this planter is operating, and I'm going to be posting, at least getting some video of me of planting corn and with it running too. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that.